After a thorough review, and given the totality of the circumstances and credible evidence in this case, it is my opinion that Officer Vinson acted lawfully when he shot Mr. Scott. He acted lawfully. I am fully satisfied and entirely convinced that Officer Vinson's use of deadly force was lawful.
Well, that's the DA in Charlotte from 24 hours ago during our program, deciding not to charge a black officer in the shooting death of an African-American man. Some protests in Charlotte overnight after prosecutors saying that Keith Scott was armed with a gun when he was killed. Officers saying Scott was holding that gun when they confronted him in a parking lot and refused several commands to drop it. Well, Steve Loomis, president of Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, with me now. And Steve, welcome back here to America's Newsroom. You're taking the story a step further.
Yes, sir.
You're now making a case that family members of the deceased should be charged?
Absolutely.
For what, Steve?
Any, not family members necessarily, but anybody that provided a false narrative, gave the police or the investigators a false statement, should be charged criminally with those. Those false statements have long-lasting effect on law enforcement and the law-abiding communities that we live in and we serve in.
Okay, Steve, what was the false statement that was made? Or was there more than one? Go.
Excuse me. There was more than one. There was two ladies that said the 4 white cops shot him. There was somebody that said he had a book in his hand. His wife told the police officers on scene that he didn't have a gun. And she knowingly created a document with that videotape, hoping, I'm assuming, to exonerate her husband from any wrongdoing as far as having that gun in his possession or having the drugs in his possession. False statements were made. They were given to the police. Those false statements were carried not necessarily by Fox but by your competitors in a loop out there that just added to the insightfulness of the whole thing. The city of Charlotte burned. Innocent businesses.
They will be charged, Steve? I understand the case you're making, but how often does something like that happen?
It doesn't happen often enough, and that's the problem. There has to be ramifications for criminal behavior, anybody's criminal behavior. And giving those types of false statements, in Ferguson we saw Michael Brown's stepfather get on the hood of the car and said, "Burn this bitch." What is that? And that's exactly what happened. That man should have been charged, criminally charged with inciting in that case. Police officers are held to the same accountability standards as everybody else out here. If there's laws that have been broken, we're held to the highest standard. We expect the same from everybody else. If there's laws that have been broken that contributed to these types of violence in the street, police, 170% increase in police officers being murdered across this country because of this false narrative. You know, so
I understand the point you're making. We'll see if the DA makes a move on that.
Well, civilly too. You know, there's civil ramifications. If I was the union president up there, I would be suing anybody that made a false statement and incited the riot that occurred, and defamed this police officer and threatened his family.
Right, we'll follow it. We have not heard word from Charlotte, but if it happens, we'll bring it to our viewers. Thank you, sir. Steve Loomis there in Cleveland, Ohio today.